From the Lightning, we have head coach John Cooper. Media, please raise your hand if you have a question. We'll start with Jim Matheson, Post Media.
Jeez, I didn't know I was coming to him first. Any chance that Mr. Stamkos could play next game?
I guess there's always a chance, but as of now, I don't think so. But so I got to tune in to find out.
Steve Wino, Associated Press.
Hey, John, I asked this knowing that your team's been pretty disciplined this entire playoffs. Have you been surprised at all these puck over the glass penalties, that even the one that the Kucherov drew on a high stick, these penalties that almost in the playoffs referees have to call?
So, but what are you asking?
Are you surprised by how many of these penalties there have been in these playoffs? I mean, you used to talk about how referees don't call penalties like late in games and overtime in the playoffs. Are you surprised at so many of these that are almost these unforced errors, the puck over the glass, that you really can't ignore?
I don't know if you can call those unforced errors. They are forced errors. I mean, the reason they're putting them over the glass is because they're under pressure. And I think at this time of year, the stakes are so high. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more, to be honest. As for the high stickings, if you like the last game on Green, that was probably more unlucky than it was actually, I don't know, a meant high stick. So probably just because they've happened in the last few games, we're taking notice. But when the games are this fast paced and boys are playing so hard and the stakes are so high, you're going to get times when pucks go over the glass. And I can't sit here and say I'm a huge fan of the rule because I think there was a day the rule came in because I think smart players used to throw them over the glass to get a break, but that doesn't happen now, and some of it's just rolling pucks, and it's tough, but it's part of the game, and if you put a team under pressure, you might get those breaks, and it's happened.
Diana Neros, Tampa Bay Times.
Hi, John. With Hedman and Vasilevsky both up for their respective awards again, what is it from each of those players that they've just play at this consistently high level that they are, 3- and 4-time finalists now for those respective awards? To achieve that consistency over year.
I think that's what makes the good ones great. I mean, that's the difference. You can have a great game, or you have a great stretch of 6 games, but do it over 82 over 10 years, and it's the ones that can play at that elite level and be that consistent. That's what makes you great, and there's the separation right there.
Mark Spector, Sportsnet.
Morning, John. Afternoon.
Hey, Mark.
So you're always going on about having a short memory in the playoffs. I think we've all heard that many, many times from you.
No, hold on. I've used the same. It's the same analogy. I just spin it different ways.
Okay, I'll give you that. However, the guy that doesn't learn from his mistakes clearly makes the same mistakes again. Can you just inform us on where the intersection is between making sure your players know what they did wrong or what didn't go right or what needs to be improved, yet having a short memory and not dwelling on having a lousy game in game one?
Well, the guys that don't learn from their mistakes, usually they'll find their way out of the lineup. And then if you continually don't learn from your mistakes, you usually find your way out of the league. So I think players, no player's immune from making a mistake. I always say if you're making a mistake, but you're given 100% effort, it's pretty tough to get on some guys. I do think there are, you take last night's game, for instance, we didn't have our legs and we didn't have our minds. And sometimes you can get away without having one of those, but you can't get away with not having both. And with that comes mistakes. And at this time of year, you don't get here without your team playing pretty darn well. And so the one positive sign, I guess that positive negative thing, is we've been able to bounce back. So guys have learned from their mistakes, and in some of these games we've lost, we felt we were our own worst enemy in those games. And so, when you look at these and sit here and say, holy cow, were we ever dominated and we did everything we could and they still rolled over us. In these games we've lost, we haven't felt that way. We felt that we made some errors and the other team capitalized on them. And that's what happens in the best league in the world. That's what's going to happen. So we look at it, we move forward. The group's dialed in, so I expect a better effort tomorrow.
JF Chamont, Journal de Montreal.
Good morning, John. We saw Steven Stamkos being pretty emotional after the win against the Islanders.
Yeah.
Even if he's not playing, can you describe the influence he's having on your team since the start of the playoff?
Yeah, I think I answered this, so I probably won't go in depth. I'm pretty sure we can find it on a recording, but he's been everything we've expected, and I know it's killing him more than anyone else not to be in the lineup, and he's inching his way closer. There's no doubt. So, but you don't get this many chances to be where we are, and you want to be a part of it, which he has, and he's collectively helped the whole group as a whole, in the mental side of things. But he also, he wants to be a part of it on the ice as well. So he's fighting his way to get back. Not exactly sure when that's going to be. We're hopeful, as Julian said the other day, that he'll be able to come back at some point in this series. But there's no way right now we can tag that. And in the meantime, well, he's not on the ice. He's been an influential leader off the ice.
Joe Smith, The Athletic.
Hey, John, you mentioned Stevens getting closer. I'm just wondering what weighs into the decision of deciding to play a guy who hasn't played in 6.5 months in a game. And I think people might think, let's put him on the power play even for 5 minutes. It could be worth a difference maker there. Just what goes into those decisions when you have a guy as important to your team as him, but he hasn't played in so long, and just kind of getting him in that situation?
Well, we don't even know if that's going to happen. So if it did happen, you have to make sure the player's conditioned enough. There's no way you would put a player into a game when you have limited roster spots just to play a specialized position. And so not at this time of the year, and especially, when you get bumps and bruises and guys through the year, you need guys to be able to contribute. And so he wouldn't want that either. I don't think anybody wants to go into a game and have to sit on the bench the whole time. So if you're going to get in the lineup, you have to be in a position that you're ready to play and play minutes and contribute. But we've got a full medical staff, and then you've got Steven. He'll be the first one to tell you if he can do it or not. And when that time comes, if it does, he's going to be put in to play, not just to sit on the bench.
We'll do a couple more for Coach. Nick Kotsanika, NHL.com.
Hey, John, to give you context of my question, Game 1 kind of reminded me of Game 1 of the Western Final. Vegas didn't have their legs, fell behind, outplayed them in the third, couldn't score. They felt really good about their game after that, but still struggled to get to the inside and get to Hudobin. So my question is, how much of the Western Final did you watch? Were you actually in the stands watching live? What lessons do you take out of that so it doesn't happen to you?
So Dallas does a good job when when they get the lead, they've usually been able to hold it, and they've had some games bunch of games where they've had to come from behind. But it starts, as you said, you got to get to the inside on these guys, and you got to take eyes away. And when the goalie can see the puck in this league, usually they're pretty much stopping all of those. And you have to make it disruptive. You have to make them uncomfortable in their surroundings. But they're a good defensive team. They have been for a couple of years now. Even when Monty was coaching them, and Bonesy's carried it on, and basically they defend well. They get in lanes and they make it hard on you. And when you do get your opportunities, you have to capitalize. And I think Vegas, probably one of the things that frustrated them and was frustrating for them in the times is, they had a bunch of guys used to scoring that weren't. And the big thing is you have to just keep fighting through that, because when guys are used to doing something and it's not happening for them, that's when it can disrupt their game. The one thing for us is we've had to fight through that in 3 series now against some defensive teams, and this is no different. They play a little different style. We just have to fight through this and go to those dirty areas and like I said, make the game uncomfortable for them.
Last question, Arpan Basu, The Athletic.
Hello, John. Sorry to ask a bit of an off-topic question, but I know that during the pause, yourself and several other coaches, Bonus, Trotz, took part in these sort of coaching Zoom chats, like to kind of talk shop during the pause. What did those chats do to help you stay engaged, or what kind of purpose did they serve for you?
Well, it's hard to say because I was in multiple ones. I think the big thing for me during the pause was getting to know like other coaches. So they started out small, few NHL guys here and there, and then they grew. Some of them grew to probably have like 80 guys, all from junior to the NHL. And you just, first of all, you get to talk hockey. And there was abundance of different topics because the pause lasted so long. And so you got to punch in and some things that interest you, and if they weren't, it was just good to listen to different theories on things or different ways of doing things. And everybody was really, what I thought, pretty open in a lot of these. And then there were some smaller ones that I was a part of that were really intimate. And those were the ones that were extremely productive for me. When you get to talk to your peers, guys that you never really are in these situations, because during the summer you're off doing your own thing. You want to get away from hockey. Well, the pause was you're still in the trenches, and so some of these Zoom calls I found extremely productive for me, and having an ability to kind of open up and share your experiences and then have guys do the same thing back. So pretty rewarding experience for me, one that I was a part of.
Coach, thanks a lot. Appreciate the time.